learned with. I now use the Mesomeister bread bowl scrapers. This scrapes the dough out of the bowl. It's not a hard edge. Using a hard, this is silicone. If you use a hard edge, what you're going to do is put your cold wax on, but at the same time, you're going to take it off because that hard edge is not gliding across your paper. And that's the same with this. It has a soft edge, which makes working with it quite easy. Any kind of oil paint can be used. There's another, Dorlin is another cold wax. I've just never used it because this works for me. So I'm going to begin by using an R&F pigment stick. It's oil paint, already has a lot of wax in it, so I don't have to add any more wax. It always has a film, and I'm just going to see if I can get around that. Yep, I can get around that. So I'm just going to put a base coat. Let's see if that's enough. And as you'll see, it seeps right into that paper. And I like putting a base coat over the entire painting. And you'll see why in a little bit. And I like it to be one color. You're always going to use a great many paper towels. I'm sorry about that. I love my trees, but it's just the fact of life when you're working with oil and cold wax. You definitely want to keep your tools clean, or else you're going to create a lot of mud, and mud is not pretty. So truly, you're going to use a lot of that stuff. So I've got my base coat on. Oil and cold wax is about lots of layers, markings. There are many, many tools for mark making, which you will walk into a store and you will say, oh, you know, that bag that the lemons came in, that would make good marks on my paintings. And you're right, they do. The inside of a box, if you peel off one of the layers, this is a wonderful mark making tool, and I'll show you that in a little bit. I'm just letting this set up for just a minute. I want to let you know I do not wear gloves. You can. I don't like wearing gloves because I've had students who have worn gloves, and you don't realize that you have paint all over them. So you're transferring the paint onto all your tools, onto paint tubes, anything you're using, you're going to wind up putting your paint all over it, and that's not for me. I don't like to have to do that much cleanup. And with regard to cleanup, I do not use any chemicals. If it's on my hands, I come downstairs and I wash my hands with warm water and Dawn, and it comes right off. Sometimes the blues, the blue paints, the Prussian blues, that will stain, but that's true no matter what. I have little finger cots that you can use on your fingers. I don't like using those either, but you can. And if I were going to do it, I paint with my hands as well. And I only use my 2 fingers. So I don't have to have all 5 of them covered. All right, now I'm going to go into a second layer. And I know you're looking at it upside down, but as we well know, in abstract painting, it doesn't matter, because when you're done with a piece, you're going to turn it around and turn it around to see what it looks like on all angles, and you might very well change the direction. So I'm just going to keep going.
And Diane, can I ask
Sure.
a quick question?
Yeah, just, yes.
That green thing that you're using, what is that called?
This is, I buy these from Messermeister, MEIS. Actually, it's right on the, it's MESSER, MEISTER. It's a silicone bowl scraper. And there was a point where they were totally out of stock and didn't know if they'd ever get any back in. And it was like my world just went, oh, what?
Oh. Wow. Excuse me. I hope everybody's still okay out there. My situation has
put over it, and it stays for days. As long as you temper down the edges, hold the edges down so a lot of air doesn't get underneath it, these paints will be good for a long time to come. So that's always a good thing to know. You're not going to have to set up your palette every time you paint something. You can reuse. If you paint in a series, you can just do that very thing. Continue to use those colors.
Diane?
Yes.
Can you do this on canvas?
No.
Thank
actually,
you.
there are some that do. I do not. When I was taught this process, I was told specifically not to. And the reason for that, if a room gets cold enough, and it doesn't have to be that cold, like 50 degrees, it can crack on a canvas that gives a lot. Now, if you have a canvas, a board with a canvas front, of course, because it's hard, it's got a hard backing, and that will work. That will work perfectly well.
You.
Sure.
Diane, excuse me, there's a request to name the colors as you're putting them down.
Okay.
From Marianne.
Okay. The dark is asphaltum, and that's a Gamblin paint. The stick is an R&F. It's a alizarin orange. It's a transparent paint, and it's wonderful. It's my favorite color of all to work with. I am using Gamblin's turquoise. That's what I'm going to put down in a minute. I have Indian yellow. I have Charvin's ash blue and Charvin's Rubine Lake. I have Gamblin's warm white, and I have a regular soft mixing white. I also have, what color is this baby? It looks like skin color. That's this one. And I think I've named all of them. So those are the colors. So I'm just going to, when I usually work, I work flat and I stand. So painting sitting down is a luxury, but it's a different angle also. So lots of times I'm going to stand up, you're going to lose my head, but I just want to see what I'm doing. And I can see it a whole lot better if I'm standing. And again, It's about constantly cleaning off your tools, keeping things clean.
Diane, another chat question has come in. Can you use acrylic paint?
It's too watery. Again, I go by everything I learned in my wonderful 3 hours. And what I learned was not to use acrylic paints. What I goofed and I bought Charvin paint that happened to be acrylic, and without realizing it, I put it into a painting. The next day when I came back to my palette to continue on that painting, all my other oil paints were great, but I found that the acrylic has a film over it, which made me then realize that something was either wrong with that particular paint. And that's when I realized it was acrylic. It's a little too runny, and I was told not to use it. The medium is oil and cold wax. And I don't know too many people that have incorporated the acrylic paint, but that's a good question. A lot of people ask that. I'm just going to hold this up for a second so you can see so far what it looks like. Can you see that? Okay, you can see how when using my Messermeister, it just skims it right over and allows me to pull some of the paint, but not all of the paint, which is exactly what I want to do. And when you're doing this, as I stated, you constantly want layers, layers upon layers upon layers. Let's see, let's get crazy. Now you can also use your palette knife to paint or to mix right on your paper. And after I'm done doing this, what I can do, aside from wiping my hands, is to use my Messermeister and just very gently move it around. Well, I wish you could really see this better than you can, but in moving it around as I just did, taking enough of it off, some of the blue popped up through the magenta that I'm using. It's very easy to move around. It's almost too easy to move around. But something just went through my brain and left, so I'll wait for it to come back.
While you're trying to recall, Dee, do you want to unmute yourself? Dee had a question.
Hi, Dee. Where are you?
Well,
I wanted to know about what percentage of cold wax you mix in your paint.
50-50.
50-50, thank you.
I put a dollop of the paint down, and then I put a dollop of the cold wax right next to it. 50-50 works really well.
Okay.
I've heard of people doing 30-70, but again, I go by and have stuck with what works for me, and that is the 50-50. That's what I've been doing.
Thank you. And the paper you're using, you said was?
140-pound watercolor paper.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure. When I do very large pieces, I have been known to do the 300-pound oil paper. It comes in the 6 foot by, I don't know how many feet long, 11 feet long. And that's an exquisite paper, but it's extremely heavy. I want to just, while I'm just letting that sit for a minute, know one thing: when you're doing oil and cold wax, It doesn't happen in 2 hours. What I normally do is I'll put layers and layers and layers down, and sometimes I'm working on more than one piece at a time. And I will walk away from it, let it set up. I just let the air get to it overnight, and let it set up, and then go back into it, putting more colors into it, mark making, so on and so forth. This is a piece I did recently, and you can see, I hope you can see that this mark is orange. Can you see that?
Yes.
That was the bottom layer. All right, that was this bottom layer. And when I used a skewer or a knitting needle and made a mark, it brought the bottom up, which is some of what you want to do with this type of artwork. And the squiggle here, that too is the bottom layer coming through. Another way, I have also worked on larger paper. It's still the 140-pound paper, but I did 2 pieces at the same time. One of them I incorporated, you can't see it, but I incorporated tissue paper into the painting and painted over it. And it's really gives great markings and depth. It looks like mountains from above. I not only paint on paper, but I also paint on cradle panels. Nothing fancy. I use Blix, inexpensive Blick product. And in this one, I incorporated a little paper that had writing on it. And I just did a little mixed media in there, a little collage, as well as some silver leaf. You can use anything under the sun on this. And that one was done on paper. I let it dry, and then I cut it to the size of the panel, and I glued it down. This one I did right on, actually this one goes this way, right on the panel. When I work on panel, I put blue tape all around the edge to protect it from the oil and cold wax getting down there. I like it nice and clean, just like my edges here, nice and clean.
Duncan had a question regarding panels. Duncan, do you want to ask your question?
Hi, Duncan.
You have to unmute yourself. Okay, that's okay. I can ask the question. It was about, are those ampersand panels, or what kind of panel was that once again? Duncan asked if you use ampersand.
It's Blick product. It's one of their products. They have several. Quite honestly, I use the least expensive because I've come to realize there's no difference between spending money on a high-priced item when it works perfectly well on a less expensive item. What I will tell you, when you work on panel, it's very important that you gesso it. You seal it off. I usually put 3 coats of gesso on it. If you, at that point in time, want to adhere something to it, like tissue paper or cheesecloth, I would use a brayer to push it down, and then I would gesso over it again. So that 3rd coat would go over anything I'm putting down. Tissue paper or cheesecloth, those are my 2 favorite things to use. I've been using a lot of tissue paper lately. Having a lot of fun with that. a lot of fun with that. Right now, I want to show you, this is an embossing tool. It comes two-sided. One is convex, one is concave, and I use the one that sticks out, and I think that's the convex. Could be wrong, but the one that sticks out is the one I use. And if I were to, I hope I have enough paint on here to show you. I'm just going to lay it down. I might just lay it down over here. And I'm just going to push. I'm pushing it into the paint. And I want to show you, yes, I don't think you'll see it, but can you see that mark making in the corner, or is it too far away?
You can see it.
Too far
A little
away.
bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
If you look in the white area,
Remember everybody to mute yourselves, please.
I use skewers, cooking skewers, and I use knitting needles. I like to put in a little asemic writing that doesn't mean anything. It's just basically scribbles. But you can see how I keep dropping my paper towels. Again, it's another form of mark making by making my squiggles. Now, if I was happy with the way it is right now, I would just leave it and let it set overnight. I would take out the lumps that when you use your skewer or your knitting needle, it takes up a lot of the paint, and you want to get rid of that. When I would come back the next day and paint over this, I don't think it will work well right now, but I will attempt to do it. When it sets up for, 12 hours, it's easy to make your marks and then cover over them with a paint, but you'll still see the marks underneath. And it's a great look. It's a really great look. Let's see what happens right now, if that's going to work. Yeah, I don't know that you can see it, but it is working. I don't think I want to do much more there. Also, you can mix as long as your palette, everything on your palette is mixed with the cold wax. You can mix it together to make lights and darks, and I will do that right now for you. I will take the turquoise I have, and I will take the soft mixing light, and we'll see what happens. So now I have a much softer much softer turquoise, which is really very pretty.
Diane, is this a good point to take 2 questions if people have them?
Yeah. They can ask questions anytime they want.
All right, please put your hands up so that we have a little bit of order, and let's see if I can see any hands up, and then unmute yourself. But all right, we might be intently watching instead. If someone has a question and I'm missing it, put your hand up, or rather unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Duncan's hand is up. Duncan's hand is up.
Yeah.
I don't,
Okay.
Hi.
Go ahead.
This is a little bit back on the idea of the panels. Someone had earlier mentioned Canvas, and I had taken a workshop down in Asheville, North Carolina, with Mark Russell, and one of the things that they brought up there was that either using paper or using panel is preferable, because if you can get into a much more aggressive form of subtraction of paint.
Mhm.
Using panels and using paper. Using canvas, it could end up being a mess.
That's right. And it can stretch your canvas, which is not what you want to have happen when you're working with this particular medium. It does not work well at all.
I saw you had a workshop with Lisa Boardwine, and sometimes she gets very aggressive in her removal of paint. She'll go down 2 or 3 layers, and
Yes.
you wouldn't want to do that on canvas.
No. There's a lot of good reasons not to use canvas. But again, as I say, some boards have a canvas coating. That's fine, as long as that hard backing is there. That works just fine.
The other nice thing about panels is that they're ready to hang. You can stain the sides of them or paint the sides of them, and there's no need to worry about the expense of framing or the bother of framing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's very true. I will tell you though, I will show you when you do frame, what you use for, this is a board. This is a cradled panel, a wooden cradled panel that's framed in a white frame. It's called a floater frame. So when you use your panels, if you choose to frame them, look for floater frames. This happens to be very heavy. It doesn't look like it would be, but it is. It's a good solid wood frame. I found the other day a metal frame, which I didn't know existed as a float frame. It doesn't come put together like this one does. You have to put it together, but I do all my own framing, so that doesn't matter to me. I had no problem with that. But it's so beautifully light. The painting I framed was 24 by 24. And I'm not old, but I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And the lighter I can make the work I have to carry all over the place, the better it is for me. And I much prefer a lighter frame. I just don't know if it comes in the gold, the silver, or even a white. So far, I've only been able to find it in the black.
Diane, can you do any realistic work, like say drawings or graphite,
Yes.
and then put something over it? How would you do that and save it so you didn't lose it? I mean, it didn't get smudged.
It would dry. It would just dry.
Oh, did you use a brush to do the realistic work, or did you do charcoal or?
No, actually, I wish I had brought the piece I did do that was a realistic painting down here, but I didn't. And it was behind a frame, and the light, it would have been one big glare. Let me show you 2 things that anyone starting or venturing into this type of work. Serena Barton's book, can you see this? Serena Barton's book, Wabi Sabi, Painting with Cold Wax. This is the best beginner book you'll find. It's fantastic. It gives you step-by-step items to use for marking and how to do it. This was really remarkable for me. I took this to the class that I took with Lisa Boardwine, and unbeknownst to me, while looking through it, I found out that one of her paintings was here. And you can see it, they're spectacular paintings, just absolutely beautiful. Very different from a lot of other people's work. And again, you cannot see the mark making in this, and that's too bad. But your next book, this is a Bible for the cold wax medium, done by Rebecca Crowell and Jerry McLaughlin. This one will show you paintings, realistic paintings. Can you see those? Absolutely incredible. The piece I did was nothing like these, but the work is not done with brushes. That's done with everything you're seeing me use here. Palette knives, scrapers, many, many different items. But there are people, if you go online in Facebook, there is a cold wax group. There's more than one. The Art of Mark Making, I think, might be one of them. They have a lot of cold wax artists. And some of the work they put out, realistic work, is just out of this world. I've done a few landscapes, or what turned out to be landscapes. Some of my bigger pieces where, you know, I'm putting my whole body into it, and sometimes I don't even see what I'm doing because it is flat. So when I hold it up, I recognize the fact that, okay, if I turn it this way, it's a landscape. But again, to get back to your question, you would let that set up the same way I'm letting this set up. You would just let it out in the air and let it dry. And then you can constantly go back into it. The mark making that Lisa does in pulling back, sometimes she uses paintings that she's done and painted over 3 and 4 times in her YouTube shows. In the very beginning, when she first started working on YouTube, she was working on paper. And now she is starting a painting on top of an existing painting, showing you that you can do that, number one, and that you can just dig right into it with various tools to get different layers to show through. And it's kind of fun. It's a lot of fun. There's also a product that when I show my students what it does, they kind of go, it's called Citrusolve. It's a cleaner degreaser. If you only buy one that says cleaner, it's not going to work. You need the one that says degreaser. And right now I'm going to show you what I'm doing with that. This is a pipette, and I use various tools to disperse the Citrusolve. I'm going to be very specific in where I put this. And how am I going to have you see this? Well, I'm going to put droplets. I'm just going to put little drops, or kind of put drops. That looked more like a worm. But maybe I will do something very different. And again, this has to set up. You always, when you use Citrusolve, you always want to be ready to catch the paint because it is a liquid. I usually count to 30 or sing happy birthday to give this time to get down to that bottom layer. And let's see, right here in this white, there you go. Where the citrusolve landed, it's picked up that top layer. And it's done the same thing over here and here. And I'll hold this up so that you can see what I'm talking about. And wherever the citrusolve goes, if you leave it on, it's going to pick up the paint. So if you can see the squiggles here in orange, that's the base coat that I first put down. And I painted over that several times. But when I put the citrusolve on top of it all, it picked up the paint. Just like the dot here and the mark right here. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to use that. Again, anything you find bubble wrap when you are it takes off some of the paint and you can transfer it elsewhere if you choose to. And it's created the markings right here. Looks just like bubble wrap is what it looks like. You can keep going with mark making forever and a day and leave it, let it set overnight, and then go back into it and paint all over it. But I don't know if, again, because I work flat, it's hard to see, but when I painted the white over the asemic writing that I did, the asemic writing, because it cut into the paper, it shows through that white paint and leaves mark making. Can you see that? Anybody? You can't see it.
It's faint.
Darn, darn, darn. I was hoping with the really bright colors, you'd be able to see some of this, but you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Actually, this is when Bob Thomas and I were working together and he was trying to help me. This one you'll see, I think. This was, it was just demo. The bottom layer was a yellowy orange. Then I put the red over it. And then I put some white down. But I used various tools to make the mark making. And you can see how it cuts right in. And you let that set overnight and you go back into it the next day. You're going to see some of this mark making through the work, through your next couple layers, especially if your layer is deep enough, and this one is. I think what I might just do, with the hope that it will work, that you can see it, is to work over this one.
Was that done in a 2-hour demo, Diane?
Now, this was done in probably 20 minutes,
Ah,
but it was just to show, just to see if you would be able to see what the mark making looked like. So what I'll do right now, is see if this is going to show through. Okay. Let me bring it straight up from the bottom. Oh, it's so pretty. Even if I say so myself. Now this is just to give you an idea of when you let mark making set up, it shows through that layer that I just put down. It's nice and deep. The marks still remain. And you can go over it a couple times, which you more than likely would do. And you'd still be able to see all the mark making. Again, I hope you can see that, how it shows through. That one you can see. Okay, that's good. Maybe I'll just continue painting on this one and let this one set up a little bit longer. Again, as I say, when you're working in any medium, you're not going to produce a painting in 2 hours. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen with this either, unless you just do one coat. And that first piece that I showed you was just that. It was basically one coat of each color. It really has very little depth, but it's soft and pretty. So you can just use one. It depends on what you're trying to do. In this demo, I thought it was really important to show a lot of the different mark making tools and how they work. I'm really disappointed that the mark making is not able to be seen like it would be if you were right here with me.
Yeah, we saw a bit of it though,
Okay.
for sure. Any questions for Diane?
I have a couple questions.
Go for it.
Okay. First of all, that painting that you just showed that's on the bed behind you, how do you get it, like right now you're painting with that, the hard edge, how do you get it soft looking like that one behind you, like cloudy? And that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. If I were to move this around, because the colors are very similar.
Diane,
Yes.
it's Mimi.
I mean,
Hi. I just wanted to let everybody know that they can see a lot of your work at the Artist Cooperative Gallery website, because one of our members, Dan, walked around and filmed. So it's Westerly Arts, www.westerlyarts.com. And I believe, Arlene, you're there. Maybe you can tell me if I've made a mistake, but the work is just phenomenal. It's just so beautiful, Diane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very honored right now to be the, what do we call it?
Featured artist.
At the co-op, and I have a lot of various pieces, large and small, plain or with various types of paper incorporated into it for you to see if you choose to, or you can go on my website, which I think is also on some of the paperwork. But in answer to your question, there's that softer look. It's not a hard edge. It's more ethereal. And again, you can continue to go back into it, making it what you want it to be. I wish you could see this right in here. The bottom orange has blended, and it's turned a little purple with the blue. It's really very pretty. But I know you can't see it.
Any questions out there?
Yeah, I have a question. Diane, back talking about the Citrusolve,
Yes.
I had read that, I think it was Roberta Crowell's book, that she calls out Citrusolve as the jackhammer of solvents, and that if you take it, it'll take everything down to the base.
It can, absolutely.
And if you want to take if you want to go down, say, 2 layers as opposed to 10 layers, you can use another solvent that's not quite as strong as the Citrusolve is.
I'm sure that is the case.
Yeah.
Sure. Jerry and Rebecca, they are both incredible artists in using the oil and cold wax. Their work is just stunning. It's very different. To look at it, you would think it's plain, but they use, Jerry uses dirt in some of his paintings. People use sand, salt to get texture, but their work is so entirely different than what I'm showing you here. I'm big on color, obviously, and they're a little more subdued, but the work is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Just look at the book cover and the textures that they get. And
Yeah, that's the way she works.
Yeah. I'm sure I can find a bigger piece for you.
She does a lot of white covers of her paintings. Sometimes Jerry is almost like a colorist, like Mark Rothko.
Yes. Now this is one of Rebecca's pieces. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you see that? I'm trying to get the glare off of it. It's exquisite work, but you really have to be up close to appreciate it, or buy the book and really appreciate it, and the work of many, many other people.
It's about $40.
A little more. I think it
Yeah.
was closer to 50. Yeah.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
I think so. I think 45 when I bought it. I don't know where it is now, but I know they sold out, as did Serena. I've been putting people on to Serena's book, which has been around for a long time, as compared to Jerry and Priscilla. Their book is probably 2 years old, where I was using Serena's book. That really got me going. Truly, truly got me going. I faithfully sat in my chair and looked at that book, and then went right to my table and started working. A great book for beginners. Again, you can just keep going over and
Mhm.
over and over your painting.
Diane, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If somebody commissions you, I don't know if you mainly sell right off the wall to viewers that are in a gallery, or if you get commissions and you do commission work for clients. How do they describe what they want?
Wow. Well, I'll
Is
tell
it
you,
color?
I'll tell you a story.
Mm-hmm.
I'll shorten it. I met some women right here in Westerly. They were here on vacation. They were sitting next to me and had my business card. And so I said to my husband, I'm just going to say hi to them when we leave and let them know that's me. Well, I did just that. And I said, I just want you to know that's me. That's my business card. And they both looked at me and they looked down at the card and looked at me again and said, this is you? And I said, this is me.
What they expect, like a 25-year-old hippie?
Exactly, exactly. And it was such fun. And they were from Asheville, North Carolina. And to make a long story short, they commissioned me to do a work in certain colors. I can't even begin to tell you how many pieces I did for them. And they finally fell in love with one of them. And I sent it down to them. And then their designer saw it
Oh,
and didn't like it. And they sent it back.
what? Did you have a
I
deposit? Non-refundable?
Oh, it all worked out in the end because they bought another one I already had done that the designer liked. But valuable lesson. If you do commissions, make sure there's not a designer involved, or if there is, get them right in the beginning to know what's going on, because I kept the letters from the two women who commissioned me to do their work. And they loved this piece. They just adored this piece. And then right now that piece is hanging in New London, in Connecticut. And it was, it was strange, but that's what they wanted. And that's what they loved, but it's not what they wound up getting.
Oh my gosh.
It was really quite
Can you
something.
hear me? Can you hear me?
I can.
We hear Michelle.
Yes, I am. I wanted to comment because I have been commissioned to do other work. And what I've learned to do is I get paid for the preview paintings. In
Uh-huh.
other words, as I progress, I'm going to get paid, so that if in the end they just don't like it, at least I was paid for the work that I had done. So just
I
a
had
thought, rather
received-
than waiting till it's all over and finding out it's not acceptable, you've done all this work.
Oh, it can be devastating, truly. But I was very fortunate that I did charge them 50% up front.
Oh,
There you go. There you go.
Was not a problem for them. So, and it wasn't, it wouldn't have happened because this was a big piece. It was, well, not that big, 36 by 54, that they wanted hanging in their bedroom.
I've got a funny commission story. I was up in Maine
People have them.
at the Andrew Wyeth Museum, and we were blessed to have Andrew Wyeth's granddaughter as as a tour guide,
Oh,
and
wow.
she was taking us around to show various paintings, and one of them was an oil painting done by her uncle Jamie, and Jamie Wyeth, and it was one of JFK, and he was sitting at his desk, very beautiful painting, and he had a pen in his hand, and she said to me, she said, this painting was a commission by Jackie Kennedy. And I said, wow. She said she got the painting. It cost at the time $15,000 for the painting, and and he delivered the painting to her, and she said, "Take it away. I don't want it." And he said, "Why?" He said, "You see the way he's holding his hand with that pen in his hand? He did that all through the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I never want to see it again." So she paid him the $15,000, and the painting now sits in the museum in Maine.
Wow.
Diane, a
Yes.
quick question. If you
Yes.
have an oil painting and it's been around for a year or so and it's on the board, so it's stiff, can you then put cold wax over it and work on it?
So it's just an oil painting?
It's just an oil painting.
I don't see why not. I would give it a try.
Okay.
I haven't tried that myself, but I wouldn't understand why it wouldn't work.
Yeah, because it would be like a base coat. Yeah.
Right. Right.
And then you could scrape back down to it in different areas.
Yes, and you would get whatever colors was underneath.
Right.
Definitely.
Or you could clear out some of the parts that you wanted to keep and then make it abstract the other areas.
Absolutely.
So that would work.
That would be, well, it's worth a try. Again, I haven't done that. Honestly, I don't have many of my traditional paint. I don't have any but one seascape that I still like, so I'm not gonna try it.
But I mean, I have a lot of plein air paintings, and then I thought it might be fun to then make part of it abstract with cold
I
wax.
don't see why not. I would go for it. And I would love to see it.
We'll
when
see.
you do it. Yeah. Well, remember, you can go over it and over it and over it, which
Right.
I am doing right here. And I'm getting it to, I mean, I happen to love, this is me, I happen to love the ethereal look to the work, where it's very soft and blended, as this is becoming more and more, and the colors mix together. And I just love how it comes out.
Can I ask another question?
Please, just ask, just talk.
Okay. So every time I see you smudging new colors on with your fingers and stuff, you wipe it off with your Mesameister thing. Why do you
I'm not
wipe it off
wiping
all
it
the
off.
time?
I'm not wiping it off. I am taking, when I pull the Mesameister back, it just gives it more of a soft, cloudy look. Then being able to see my actual fingerprints in here and the moves I'm making with my fingers. You don't have to, but that's just happens to be a preference of mine.
Have you heard anything about the health risks at all of using your fingers with all of these products? The absorption. I've taken workshops with Lisa Pressman, and she is all about gloves.
There are people who do wear gloves. No doubt about that. I just happen not to, and I never have. My teacher didn't, and she still doesn't.
Okay.
You know, I think there are those that do and those that don't. It's just your comfort level. And I like to feel what I'm doing. That probably sounds strange, but it's true. It's true. I'm going to try and get a little more dark in here. And then I'm going to try doing a little more mark making.
It would be interesting, Diane, to see some of your traditional works from before discovering this new love, a little still life or whatever it might have been.
Okay, I'm leaving you for 2 seconds.
Oh, okay. What a treat.
I have them on the wall in the living room.
See if you have a tree or a rose,
I have
something
them-
very identifiable, because what a difference to see that and then this. How many people out there do this type of work already? Maybe just put your hand up. There's a hand gesture
do.
there that you can raise your hand. Let's see, or
can't
if
see
we're in
me,
the
but-
grid, we can see, you can actually physically put your hand up. Wave if you do this. Ooh,
Really?
quite a few of you. Wow. I'm a little too
Are they-
intimidated.
Are you oil and cold wax people already?
It seems like, yes, if you look at hands went up, how many hands? I don't know how many hands it was. 1, 2, I don't know, more than 5.
Can you see that?
Yes,
It's a rose.
yeah.
So that's,
Wow, it's beautiful. It's hard to see. There's reflection, obviously, because of the
I know.
glass. But I mean, I think we got the gist for sure. Very realistic rose. Oh, there you go.
can you
Oh
see
my
that?
goodness, yes. Is that
So-
oil?
Yes. Mhm.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So this is what I did for 20 years. And then I switched and I went to pouring inks and acrylics. And I had a lot of fun and had some success with that. Won a few prizes that blew me away.
You
But
said pouring inks into acrylics?
pouring inks and acrylics together on Yupo.
Wow, okay.
If you haven't done it, that's another fun medium to try. You can just do inks. You know, they have the alcohol inks now. I used to use alcohol and drip it on my paintings. And, you know, all the paint would run in different various directions. It was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
This is Marianne. Is the Yupo paper like vellum?
Is the Yupo?
Yeah.
Actually, Yupo is plastic. Although you don't know that. I didn't even, after years of using, or not years, a couple years of using it, I wasn't even aware that it wasn't paper. It's considered plastic.
Ah.
It too comes, I bought the big roll, the 6 foot by, I don't know how many feet long, and cut it every time I wanted to use it. So I could cut it to size, whatever I wanted to do. And that, it's just fun. I mean, it can be as colorful, it can be black and white, it can be anything you want. But again, the colors mix on the Yupo paper as it's running around. I used to use a straw to blow it around the paper.
Can I ask a question?
No,
I don't mean to get personal. No, it's unbelievable to see the very precise rose still life and the vase and the petals and then the strands of seagrass and the very realistic paintings. Was there a catalyst that made you say, I'm done, I'm breaking out, and I'm dumping ink on everything and blowing stuff around on my paper?
I wasn't sure I was going to do ink, but my paintings, I don't draw. So I would take photos. I mean, the seascapes, I didn't have to do this for, but any, the fruit in a bowl or the rose or whatever, I would take a picture. I would grid the picture, get my canvas and grid my canvas because I don't draw. And that's how I had to, and that was work. I did that for 20 years. I did more beach scenes because of that. And also that's what people in New England were buying. But it was work. And I wanted to have some fun. And I can wake up every morning and go up to my studio and have fun. Really, really have fun with this medium. I'm sure the other people who are also painting with it know what I mean. You can start out in one direction and wind up in an entirely different direction, different colors, different everything, and never know how you got there. Never be able to duplicate it. There is no way I could duplicate any of this work. There just isn't. And I don't think it's my inability to remember what I've done. It's just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. But I'm really disappointed that you cannot see the mark making.
We can see some of them.
Yeah, we can see some.
We can see enough.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm going to take this one up and I'll just, for the fun of it, take the tape back off. Oh my.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How long does that take to dry?
These are thin layers. So I would say it just as it is right now, probably in 3 days, it would be dry. This, on the other hand, would probably take a little longer. Does anybody use cheesecloth either to put it on your painting or for mark making? This is some of the, it's very web-like, very fine lines. It's a wonderful mark making tool along with the tissue paper. This whole thing is going to be so marked up. Tissue paper, you crinkle it. You put it down and you pick it up. And if you were sitting here, you would be able to see something that looks like a web. And you would see that bottom layer of orange through the white and through the maroon.
Mm-hmm.
It would just show up. And it's really, really pretty looking. I'm trying to think of other things I can. Some of the other items I use on my paintings are powdered pigments. And they're great fun to put into a painting. If you have a piece that's dry and you decide you want to try something and add something to it, but you don't want to get into painting over it, all you have to do is take some of your cold wax, which, as I said, is very soft and mushy, and add it along with gray hair when it falls out. Just add it, and then you can go in. Let's see what this looks like. And what I do is take a little bit on the tip of my palette knife. I would drop it down, and I can hammer it down and have it become Can you see what I did right there? And it really does quite a bit for the painting. This painting has almost every mark. Has almost every color I have on my palette. So it's a little busy, but let's see what it looks like when.
Diane, what is that tool that you use to make like that musical?
The original mark that was on here.
It's a
On the
mark
other one.
that reminds me of a musical sign.
Actually, it's an encaustic tool that I came upon. A woman makes them herself and sells them. They're quite expensive, but they're incredible. And I use them a great deal on some of my really big paintings, and moving it, you know, all the way around, and different edges, soft edges, wider. It's really, they're really wonderful tools to use.
Could we see that one again?
Well, I covered it up.
Oh,
It was, remember the orange and red, which is now this one? It was made by moving my hand with the tool in various directions.
I meant the tool.
Oh, I don't have that one down here. You know, as I say, I have so many things still upstairs that I could bring down, but then I would also have to carry them back upstairs.
And in that painting, we can see the design that you just held up. We still see that.
Yeah, so it's still there.
Yeah.
Again, it was done and left to dry. And the mark and the amount of paint on the painting was thick enough so that it gave ridges, which is when you paint over it, you're filling in the ridge, but that design is still showing through. Again, it's a little more difficult because you can't see a lot of what I'm doing, which is really too bad. But
No, we see a good amount. Oh, wow.
okay, I just want to show you another way to bring up. Normally I would continue to do this.
Diane, this
Yes.
is Rafaela. Have you worked on an easel with this medium?
The story I told you about the two women down in Asheville, I had to work on theirs on an easel, because it just wasn't working the way they wanted it to work. And I decided that I would attempt to use an easel and see if I could make it work any better that way. And quite frankly, it didn't work any better that way. I wound up just changing the painting entirely, and then they fell in love with it. But it didn't get to hang in their house. A different one did. So I have, and there are, I know Lisa sometimes, but I think she also has YouTube videos of, Lisa Boardwine has YouTube videos of acrylic paintings also, I think, and she has that up on a board. At first I thought it was this work, the oil and cold wax that she does, but it was not, it was acrylic. Whether she's doing more of that now, I don't know. But I just want to show you, there are so many stencils, and I don't know if you can see all the circles I just put in there, and lifted the top layer and brought the circles down to the orange, which is that bottom layer. So
You can see that. Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can you hold your paintings closer to the camera?
Oh, there's feedback there.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
She asked if you could hold the painting closer to the to your monitor camera, but there was really bad feedback. Very nice. Yeah, we see the circles, and everything.
I can only see you.
Me?
I can't see that.
Can only see Hillary when Hillary talks.
Right. I
Can you
can't see
see
that.
it now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question
Please.
for Diane. Can you do that cold wax on canvas board?
As long as it has a solid backing,
Right.
board that's covered, yes. Yes, you can. It's
That's
got to have that covered,
Right. It's that very thin, it's a thin canvas board, but I think it's on masonite. The canvas is
Yes.
stretched on
it
masonite.
would work there because it's not going to give. There will be no give.
Right.
You'll have no problem with the wax cracking,
Mhm.
which is the big problem with the canvas, the regular.
A good use for that because I hate it for other mediums.
Mm-hmm. Now, when I frame, when I frame my artwork, I'll try and get it so that there's not a glare. The mat that I use, because I use a 4-ply or an 8-ply mat around my painting. And I do that because when I'm painting on paper, it can get pretty heavy. And I don't want it to fall forward and touch the acrylic. So again, I was told when using this to do the, 6-ply or 8-ply. 4-ply is a regular mat that you can buy in any of the craft stores. But a 6 or 8-ply, you have to order. And I will mention that I use an absolutely wonderful company. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it, but it's called American Frame. And I can purchase everything in a package to frame a painting. I can get the acrylic, the frame, the backing, the mat, and all the wire and clips and everything you use in the back, all in one package. And they price out each item. So if you don't need the mat, that you can remove that. And I find them wonderful. Their products are beautiful. They have a lot to choose from. And I will continue to use them. I have no reason not to or to look for anyone else. I like doing one-stop shopping if I can. And this is a company that allows me that ability. So
I have a painting up behind me that I used American Frame for, and I agree. I think they're a great company.
really nice. Now that's a floater frame. That's a wooden
Yeah.
floater frame. Yep.
Yeah.
That's really nice. I love your colors.
Oh,
And that is the oil and cold wax?
yes.
Cool. I wish I could see the top of it, but very nice.
Let me see here.
Almost. There you go. Oh, look at that orangey up in the corner. Very pretty. Very pretty. Now, do you ever use your fingers?
I never have, no, but that's a good idea because I like to try to put hard and soft edges together on a painting.
Mm-hmm.
So you have soft edges and you have hard edges, like using the
Meister?
the Mechmeister is great for hard edges, and using your fingers is great for soft edges.
Exactly.
The other thing I haven't used, which you gave me a great idea, is the pigments. The pigments are that's a really good idea.
You know, when I have my classes, a great many of the people that come are women. And we kind of also like glitter. You would be surprised. I don't think I have anything here. I don't, that has glitter on it. But you use the glitter the same way you do the pigment, and it just sparkles. You know, it just can lead your eye around. The same thing with the gold leaf. Gold leaf adds so much to this work. Again, I have a piece. This one I did directly on the board, and I covered almost the entire board with tissue paper, with regular crumpled tissue paper. And I intend to, I haven't done it yet, but I'm not done with this one. I'm going to go back into it, and I'm going to make sure I put down a little gold leaf over the ridges, and just, you know, take my a clean palette knife and just rub over the leaf. And leaf is not easy to work with. I don't find it easy to work with, but it's willing to give it a good try because it adds so much to a piece. But it's, do you use any of the mark making tools, any of the
Yeah, I use R&F, but some of those,
okay, some of the
yeah.
sticks. Also, there's something else. Once I find my paper, I think I've buried everything. I just want to show you some other tricks.
Diane, just before you move on there, so that board you just showed us,
Yes,
that was an example where you put down a coat of gesso and then,
2 coats of gesso.
oh, and then the
I
tissue?
and then I put the tissue paper in the wet gesso,
Okay,
and then I went over it
a third time.
a third time.
Okay,
Covered the entire piece.
all right.
Diane,
I'm basically a fabric artist, but I'm really interested in incorporating things like fabric and stuff, so thank
There's
you.
no reason in the world why you cannot, as long as it's not too heavy. Is it silk or is it a heavy burlap?
Oh,
Even
no,
though-
it's never that. It would be silks, organza probably, maybe some lighter cottons.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. This is, but there's no reason not to. I see absolutely no reason not to. This is water-soluble graphite. And you can do your squiggles and know that this is transparent, so I'll go back and use this. And
Diane,
just-
can you use crayons or oil pastel?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. You can use, as I say, upstairs. If I could ever have gotten this going upstairs, I could have shown a lot more product that can be used. Hard pastels, soft pastels, oil sticks, oil crayons, any of it can be used. And it all serves its own purpose. And you can see, now I'm using this alizarin orange, my favorite color. And you can see, or maybe you can't.
Yeah.
No, we see it. We can
You
see
can
it.
see it? Okay.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You can see right through it. And you have the ability to leave a section unpainted So in other words, if I went in and, because this is warm white that I'm using, you can see through the warm white also. So it's remaining. I've left it here with one layer of paint over it, oil and cold wax. This has two layers, the white and the orange, and it's still remaining. Now, let's see what happens. This is almost transparent too. So even when you put a darker shade over it, it's still transparent. So it's a way of creating a design. I'm getting real messy here.
Somebody had asked the name of that little tool that you're using right now, the roller.
It's a brayer.
A what?
A brayer, B-R-A-Y-E-R. If you go to any online, even Amazon, just put in the word brayer and you'll get hard brayers, soft brayers, different sizes, lots of different brayers. Now let's see. Nope, can't see it. Darn.
Maybe we can if you hold it up.
No, you're
Is
not
that a
gonna
hard
be able
brayer?
to. It's not enough contrast. Let's see if I can fix that. We'll give it contrast.
Mm-hmm.
I could only see you, Hillary. I can't see Diane.
Oh, okay. So go to the upper, are you on a laptop or a desktop?
Desktop.
So hopefully in your upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little grid, a tiny little grouping of squares. And if
Yeah.
you hover over it, it should say gallery view or speaker view. You want to click on speaker view.
All right. Thank
And
you.
then when Diane speaks, it will
Right.
focus on Diane. Anyone else that's speaking, it's going to focus on them. And it's happening because I'm unmuted. But thank goodness everybody else is muted, because if a cough, then it goes on to that person. So anyway, hopefully that'll help.
It didn't create what I wanted it to, but you can see, I think you can see the marking
Mm-hmm.
in this area here. You know, I can just keep painting and painting and painting. It just, there's nothing you can't do. And you don't have to be afraid of it, because if you don't like what you're doing, just go right over it. Create that newness. That's something new. That's going to be exciting.
Does anybody have a comment or a question? Unmute yourself and let it rip.
I have a question. When you're choosing, hi Diane.
Hi.
Hi, it's nice to see you. When you're choosing your palette and or when you're applying colors, do you give much thought to whether you choose opaque or transparent? Or you just go by the color?
I just go by color. I just go by color. A lot of people ask me how I determine my palette. Lots of times when I go to sleep at night,
Excuse me.
the colors come into my mind, what I want to work with the next day, and therefore I do. But as I always say, you can start with a palette like this, and by the time you're done, you could be in blues and greens and incorporate some of the work into it and do something entirely different. I think it moves me to color. Color moves me to experiment and not be afraid. And especially in this medium, because the more layers you have, the better off you are. But not everybody paints with a lot of mediums. They don't choose to do that. I mean, a lot of layers. You do what you do. You make it your own. But this is playing now.
Diane, I have a question. How do
Yes.
you avoid mud on your paintings?
I think by keeping my tools clean, I think. I don't have a problem with that. And maybe I look at something and don't see it, and someone else might look at it and say, oh, that's muddy. I don't know, but I don't have a problem with mud. You know, you have to have the darks and the lights, even if they're all blues, you know, to show the dark off and show the light off, you have to have the different hues. And I just don't have a problem with mud.
Yeah, it does not look like mud.
No.
It's very pretty. I should
so.
tell you, it is 11:45, Diane.
Wow.
Do you want to work for a couple of more minutes, or should we now open it up to a little bit more discussion and
Sure.
a more
Let's open it
official?
up. I'll just keep playing and we'll talk at the same time.
Okay, good. Anybody out there?
This is Mary Ann, and I would like to know the brayer that you were using. Is that a hard brayer or
This one
soft
is.
brayer?
This is a hard brayer. Yep. Some of them are foamy. I haven't used those. For what I prefer to do, I use the hard one. It's what
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, there was some question back a while back about colors. Something I found helpful initially was the use of a color wheel. You know, it's almost, you can look at it, and if you use a complementary color, if you use an analogous color scheme or a split complementary, you can't go wrong. You know, if you want to start that way, you know, there's a lot of variations on that, but you go to Dick Blick's or Jerry's or someplace and pick up a cheap color wheel, and it's almost self-explanatory.
Absolutely. Absolutely. we all do our own thing, and that's what makes it our art. You don't want everyone to be doing the same thing. Because-
Diane, you said you were going to use gold leaf. Usually you have to glue it down. Did you wait until the painting was a little drier, you said, and then you were going to use like the
Just
glue
the
for the gold leaf? Yeah,
Well,
or your cold wax.
in order for the gold leaf to stick, or anything you might put on top to stick, it has to be wet. But if it's a dry painting and you want to try that, just take a little bit of your cold wax on your finger, rub it into the area, and then put down your gold leaf. And it will stay there. Do you use gold leaf often?
No, I have some, but I
Um,
used it on one painting, so I have a sheath of them. So I thought they'd be fun.
Right. What I would suggest is also have a palette knife handy, so that I don't like, when I'm putting gold leaf down or silver leaf or copper or whatever, I don't like a solid line in the middle of it. So either take a skewer, your knitting needle, or the edge of your palette knife and create different edges on it. I think it looks better that way rather than a big solid mark. Just create some different edges. Again, that's something I didn't bring down. I could have, but I didn't. But I find gold leaf very difficult to work with, but I'm not giving up. I'm still trying to have fun with it, but it does a lot for painting. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, is it expensive to buy?
No, this is not real gold leaf. Yes, that would be expensive to buy, but this I buy right in AC Moore's, if there's any still around, or Michael's. You can get them right there. Very affordable, very affordable. What I want to find more of right now are the powder pigments, the dried pigments. I have 5 of them, I think: green, red, yellow, blue, the basics, and black. And I'm just finding they do so much for a painting. Right now, I just wish I had a orangey pink to move around here.
Have you used pastels?
I do. I have it. I have, all the different pastels, the soft, the hard, the pan. You can use anything like that at all. But again, you need your painting to be either you're still working on your painting, so it's wet, or just put down the cold wax before you put it down, and it will work well. And with the gold leaf, once you've got it looking like you want it to look, kind of tamp it down gently with the bottom of something, anything, because you're going to need to do that. Definitely.
Diane,
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could repeat the list of pigments that you used, that you have there, that you're using today. And is that a combination that you often use? The palette that you have today?
Are you talking about the paints that I
Yes,
get?
yes.
Oh, all right. I always incorporate orange. It doesn't matter what color orange, but I mean, if you could see my wall up here, everything, just about everything I have has orange in it. So orange is a definite. I love this Rubine Lake, which is a Chardon color. Chardon is a paint made in France, and it's quite expensive. especially right now. But they are gorgeous, beautiful colors. I also used Charvin's Ash Blue. I used Gamblin's Indian Yellow, Gamblin's Asphaltum, which is an absolutely gorgeous dark rich brown, and I use this primarily instead of using a black or a dark gray. It's scrumptious, and apparently it goes very well with orange, so that works. Today I also had Chinese Orange, Warm White by Gamblin. I had a plain white, a soft mixing white, and I had turquoise, and that was also a Gamblin, the 1980 Gamblin. That's the turquoise. And I think that was everything I put down here, I think.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Diane,
Yes,
Mary Ann again. Can you talk about how you can preserve the paints that you have already out there? for
absolutely,
next time.
absolutely. At the end of day, when I have been standing long enough, I will take my wax paper. I'll leave this just as it is. I will take my wax paper. And I will cover my colors. I will, if I'm up in the studio and ending for the night, I would tamp down the edges and make sure as little air gets underneath the wax paper. And this will stay, if you do it correctly, this will stay for a week, if not maybe a little longer, if you're really good about it. But I would also think in a week you would use this up and you would go on to something else. I might be wrong, but it's as simple as that. It will stay beautiful. It'll be perfect the next day to use or the day after that, as long as you keep it so that the air is not getting into those colors. There have been times when I've actually forgotten to cover it, and the next day it's fine, absolutely fine. And I don't have heat in my studio when I'm not there. I have a gas heater that I keep the pilot light on. But believe me when I say there are days that I go up there and I can see my breath. It doesn't hurt this. It works the same as it did the day before. It's very simple. It's very simple to keep it good. You can always add more paint to it, but if you're adding more orange, add more wax. Same 50-50 blend. If you want to mix colors, like I did with the turquoise, make sure that both your colors have the mixture. They're both oil and cold wax. Otherwise, you're going to have too much of one and not enough of the other. But it stays. It stays perfectly. And I just want to, I haven't knocked over my water yet, which is really good. The other day I knocked it over twice, which was not good. Just want to see. Yeah.
Did you frame it under glass or do you frame it just by itself board?
Well, you know, when I'm framing, I've learned to use acrylic because when you send it off to galleries in New York or anywhere, they don't want glass. They no longer want glass. And they tell you that. So I started out using glass, but now I use acrylic. And acrylic is as good as anything. I will admit, I do not spend, I don't get the museum glass. I wouldn't be able to frame very much if I did that. But I happen now to like the acrylic. I feel very comfortable with it. This is acrylic. And this is lighter because of it too. And it doesn't look any different than the glass you might use.
And that's American frame?
It is. Everything I've used probably for 3 years, other than really, really big pieces that I've had to have framed professionally. If it's something I can do, I do it through American Frame. Yep. So tell me, how did I do? Honestly, how did I do? Did I leave anything out?
You were great.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm using Gamsol. Is that similar to the Citrusol?
Yes, it is.
Now I can actually mix it with paint so that I get runny paint if I want something really messy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I won't say, does it have a citrus aroma?
No.
Gamsol? No. This one does, and that's one reason why I like it. It's not any kind of a chemical smell attached to it.
Well, I have it in the kitchen, but that's not the right one.
Right. You have the one that's the cleaner.
Yes.
This one is, it's both cleaner and degreaser. And
it's coming. I ordered it from Dick Blick, but.
Oh, good. You're going to love it. You're going to have a good time with it. And your studio is going to smell good too, because I'm so happy I'm not doing turpentine and all of that anymore. I think, when I think about painting with my fingers, and when I think of all the years of smelling the turpentine and, cleaning my hands and brushes and everything, none of it's really good for us, but.
I've done coal wax for a while, but I thought your workshop was very good. I picked up a lot of stuff. I pick up a lot of stuff from every workshop I go, but I got a lot of stuff from you that I hadn't heard before or I hadn't tried before. So
Wonderful.
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Also, Diane, you asked how you were doing. Diane?
Yes.
You asked how you did. So we have lots of comments that answer that question.
Okay.
Yes, we have from Lynn Ann Weed. Diane is a wonderful teacher. From D. Mazzocchi, thank you, Diane, great. We have Joanne Shenfield, thanks for an inspiring workshop.
Good.
Duncan, you answered my question and he just said thank you, that he learned extra things from you. D. Favrette, thank you very much, Diane, very informative. Donna said that. And we have other ones, fascinating and inspiring from Bev. I don't know if I can read all of these, so much
Don't
to
worry
watch.
about it. Thank you all.
Everybody says thank you, that you're a wonderful teacher and that this was an excellent demo.
Did everybody get the sheet of supplies that was online?
I
sent it to everyone.
Marianne sent that, yes.
Yes.
That's great.
So
don't run out and buy everything all at once, but those things that you need to really start painting, get those. Your freezer wrap, your paper towels, your wax paper, your squeegees, bowl scrapers, paint, the cold wax,
Mhm.
and some tissue paper, and you can have a bowl
It's,
just with those things.
well,
Now, I just
really,
want to show you the marks that I made right here were made with my scraper. And you can see that when I remove that layer, the graphite is still, I don't know, is still there in what looks like a leaf. So that marking is twofold, which is fun. But anyway, there's a lot. Feel free. I'm always, whenever I teach a class, I'm more than happy to give you my email.
why don't you do that now, Diane? Why don't you finish up with your closing words about classes, about how people can pursue this incredible medium with you. And then I have a few closing statements to make. So take maybe this next minute or so to talk about your website, your classes.
Okay. My website is dianebrownt.com. You can also contact me directly through that website, but it will show you that I work in all sizes. You will also see that I have, excuse me, my voice is just about had it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll notice that I've slashed my prices. And I have a reason for that I won't go into, but take note of that. It will also tell you the pricing on my classes. Right now, I'm only taking 2 in my studio. Normally I take 4 to 6, but I don't want that. I'll tell you so that you'll know if you go somewhere else what prices usually are. For a 5-hour class, if you come to my studio, you don't bring anything. You don't bring anything at all except for your lunch, a drink, and an apron. I supply everything you need to create this kind of work for $120. And I think that's pretty darn good. That's only my opinion, of course. But when I took this course for 3 hours, not only did I have to buy all my supplies, which came to over $200, I also had to pay, I think, $236 for the class, the 3-hour class. And quite honestly, what I'm teaching you is what she taught me. And not even as much probably, because we were all beginners and had no clue what this was all about. But anyway, so if you're interested in a class, just contact me. My email address is dbrownart, the numeral 1, at comcast.net. And let me know. I'm not doing anything tomorrow. I have the second half of oral surgery, which I am not looking forward to. I'd much rather do this again tomorrow, but that's going to keep me down for close to 2 weeks.
Sorry, somebody's ringing.
I don't know if that's me, but I lost my picture.
It might be.
I turned my phone down, so it shouldn't. I turned it off. But anyway,
somebody else might be not muted. I'm looking. Okay, so.
Well, oh, good. So those are classes here in my studio. I also do classes. I'm also a member out in Wickford, if you're in Rhode Island, South County. I'm going to start teaching at South County later in the spring because I really want to do it in person. I love for people to really, really, really see what's happening on my canvas or on my paper when I'm doing it. And obviously that can really only be done one-on-one. Plus I love the interaction with people and love to go around and see what they're doing, because I'll do a demo and then they go and do their thing. In a class, people, no matter where they are, will produce anywhere from 2 to 6 paintings in the course of 5 hours. And yet there's one lovely woman who's come to, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 of my classes, and she does one. And she works very hard on that one piece. And by the time she leaves, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. So everybody is different along those lines. I was teaching at Art Space, but now that has closed down, and hopefully moving somewhere else. I was going to teach at Art Place. No, did I teach at Art Place? And one or the other. But COVID happened and we canceled everything there. I taught at Spectrum Gallery in Essex. Trying to think where else I am. I think that's,
All right,
I don't
good.
have anything, are the only classes I have lined up. I have 2 in my studio for the very end of February. And they may not happen. It depends on how COVID is around here. And I have one in Wickford that is February 22nd, I think.
All right, and we will put that up on the Madison website. We have your information up under events, so people will know how to contact you at our website.
That's great.
So
Thank
Diane,
you all.
yes.
I really appreciate seeing some familiar faces and new ones. I love new faces. So hopefully we'll all see each other at openings, you know, maybe by late spring, early summer, who knows? But I know we're all looking forward to getting back to those good old days when you can talk and socialize and learn from each other.
Exactly, and I know many of us all of us hope to meet you in person at some of those receptions. So let's look forward to that. So thank you again so much, Diane.
I so appreciate it.
And
Thank
yeah,
you.
and we really, I know that I learned a ton. You brought us from A to Z on this medium with everything to buy, how to start off. And those look to me like they can be framed and hung in a beautiful home. So thank you very much. It's just a matter of who's brave enough to try this, because I am intimidated. I'll stick to the roses and the beaches right now, but that is really, it looks like it's very freeing, and
It is.
just like it kind of takes you to a different place, which is
no doubt about
very
it.
nice. So we
Thank
very much appreciate it. We will have the recorded session. We'll figure out how to get that up online. And so look forward to that. And then everybody, please just don't forget to check out the Madison Art Society website, madisonartsocietyct.org for our upcoming events. The next lecture will be in February with Bob Potter, February 9th. And that's really our next really exciting thing to look forward to. Also, if people are on Instagram, please try to find the other artists. Go to Madison Art Society CT, follow that. Hopefully Madison Art Society CT will follow you back, and then find people here and follow each other on that, because that's a really great way to get your work out, to connect with other artists, and sales happen with Instagram at times.
And we put it on Facebook too.
Oh, of course, Facebook as well.
And
Definitely.
remember, Facebook has several oil and cold wax areas. You have to look it up or search for oil and cold wax groups, and you'll get a list of groups you can join.
Yeah, and groups are you really get enthusiastic people that are part of
and
those
you
groups.
see what everybody is doing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And how creative they are. It's
Yes.
incredible.
So yes, again, Diane, thank you so much. Bev, thank you for keeping us active and present on Facebook. Beverly Schermeyer handles that, and yes. And then we do have an Instagram as well. And Marianne, thank you for getting this going for us. So I'm gonna say goodbye and thank you everybody for coming and being a part of it. Please join Madison Art Society. and stay involved. And we hope to see everybody
Stay safe.
out there. Yes, everybody be safe. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.